Sports Hop. It is on and popping. We got another hot show for you today. Episode 52. One for the books. I'm in the building. Solomon's in the building. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We appreciate all the love and support here at Sports Hop. We got a lot to talk about, so we're going to dive right in. And we going from Big D, Dallas, Texas, back to La La Land because there's been a blockbuster trade in the association in the NBA. The Lakers have moved Anthony Davis and Max Christie to Dallas in exchange for Luca Doncic. Markieff Morris is also part of the deal, and Kleber. But the big story here is Luca is no longer in Big D. He is now in La La Land with the Lakers. Very, very interesting scenario. Everybody thought this was just fake news. They thought that Shams had gotten hacked. And I was like, I had to do a double take when I found out. I'm not going to front. But major, one of the biggest trades in the history of sports. Luca's only 25 years of age. Generational talent. International superstar, right? Because he's from overseas. But props to the Lakers and Rob Pelinka for getting it done. Nico Harrison kept it quiet in Dallas. I couldn't believe that nobody knew. It didn't leak out at all, but it did go down. It is official. I think this is a huge move for both teams. Solomon, I know that you were definitely surprised by this.
Absolutely, I was.
Yeah. What was your initial reaction when you heard this? You didn't think it was real, right?
No, I didn't. I was sort of like everybody else because I saw some story and I went, wait, what? And I saw Anthony Davis, his name, and then I'm looking and I go, and then it said, Luca, and I went, what? and it's just sort of like, okay, he got hacked. And then, you saw, no, this is real. And it said, well, that's what somebody who would hack you would still say, right? And so, but then, like you said, you start seeing it everywhere, and then you were like, how could this happen? And like, even today, it doesn't feel real that something like this, like, it just doesn't happen. You don't just trade away a guy who just took you to the NBA Finals, 25 years old, face of the franchise.
Yeah. Loved by everybody in Dallas. I mean, you got Dallas fans crying. I'm like, man, this is what they think about those season tickets in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
They going down the drain, flush. Definitely some interesting times. There's some fans down in Dallas that are quite angry. I can't blame Jason Kidd for this. I'm not even mad at Nico Harrison for what he did, but there's a lot of stuff that's going to, come to light, I think, in the next few weeks, because there's a bigger reason why they moved off of Luca. I mean, he's only 25 years of age. He can get to the basket. He can score with the best of them. I mean, he single-handedly led the Mavs past the Timberwolves last year in the Western Conference playoffs. So he's definitely a generational talent. Anthony Davis is 6 years older than Luca. When healthy, Anthony Davis is dominant at the rim, and he can play with the best of them. My biggest concern for the Mavs is, will Anthony Davis be available? Because he's not always on the floor because he does tend to get hurt at times. They still got Lively. They still got some rim protectors in Dallas, but they are losing about 25 to 27 points a game from that lineup. Kyrie Irving is still there. They still got Klay Thompson, but it's going to be interesting to see who's going to get to the chip first. That's the biggest question. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not going front. I think the Lakers have the advantage to get to the championship and win it before the Mavs, because you still got LeBron James. Despite being 40 years of age, he's not showing any signs of age, right? He's conditioned his body well in his training regimen. I think he can rub off on Luca and influence Luca. Imagine if Luca came in shape, like real shape. He's supposed to be around 230, and I think he reported around 260, so about 30 pounds overweight. But if Luca could step up his defense and maybe shed 20, 25 pounds, it's going to be scary. I'm telling you right now. But LeBron has always said that, that's one of the players that he would love to play with. I never saw it coming, right? No one would have thought in this lifetime that LeBron James and Luca would be on the same squad. They still got some good players as well, but they need a center. The trading deadline is approaching in the next few days, so they may have to focus on that in the offseason. But I believe that the Lakers are positioned that, in the loss column, they're tied with Denver. The Lakers, I think, are in the 5th spot right now, and they've won 9 out of the last 11 games before this trade even went down. So JJ Redick has been coaching his butt off. Props to him. Props to LeBron, who's playing at a high level. I love what they're doing. My pick to get to the championship and win it out of these two teams, who's going to do it first, would be the Lakers. I think with their playoff pedigree, their franchise value, and JJ Redick, a good, young, hungry coach, I think if they can acquire a big to protect the rim and maybe get another wing shooter who can knock down the 3-ball, I think the Lakers are going to be a very dangerous team. They're already dangerous, but I think they're going to be even more dangerous once they pick up a few more key acquisitions. So my answer to that question is the Lakers. I think they'll get to the championship, to the finals, before the Mavs and actually win it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree, but mainly because I'm a Lakers fan, I think.
A little biased.
But if you look at Dallas, let's forget about Luca for a second.
Yeah.
Look at how Dallas is built. Now, granted, it's an older team, but that does not disqualify them from still being able to win, because older teams have won before. So you've got Klay Thompson, you've got Kyrie Irving, and now you've got Anthony Davis, who is a powerhouse when he's on the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll get you 25 a game and the rebounds and the blocks and just really be that defensive presence for you. So as constructed, that team looks really, really good. Now, not only that, with Derek, I think Derek Lively is out a bit right now. He's hurt, but when he comes back, Anthony Davis is playing the 4, not the 5.
That's where he always wanted to be.
Yeah, and I think he'll be happy with that. So I wouldn't count Dallas out. I feel like they have something to prove there. But at the same time, I think if you saw the way the Lakers played against the Clippers, that defense was all over the place.
Oh yeah.
And then you've got, the centers that they have. They're trying to show that they got some game as well. And so, even if the Lakers don't pick up anyone of significance, I still think they can put together a great solid run and a good solid team. And who knows, make some noise in the playoffs.
Shout out to Austin Reeves as well. He's been balling. He's been playing his best basketball in his young career. So shout out to JJ Redick and Jason Kidd, who is a phenomenal coach in Dallas. We got to give him some love. So we're going to really see how it plays out. Both teams have about 30 to 35 games left in the regular season before the playoffs. We'll see what happens. Keep it tuned in and locked in with Sports Hop. We'll give you all the latest info regarding all these trades and what's going down. And speaking of going down, we're going down to the Bayou, to New Orleans. We got Super Bowl 59 happening in the next few days. This is a rematch from 2 years ago when Kansas City and the Eagles met in Arizona, and that was a classic as Kansas City drove down the field at the end, and Bucker with the winning field goal to win that game. Kansas City has already won back-to-back titles. They're vying to be the first team in NFL history to do the three-peat and go back-to-back, right? Kansas City's getting a lot of hate lately. A lot of people are tired, I guess, of seeing true championship pedigree and seeing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. A lot of people are claiming they're not going to watch the game, which is totally untrue. Even the haters sipping on Haterade, you're going to tune in. If not for the game, at least the halftime show with my man Kendrick Lamar, because he's going to light that stadium up. So I'm looking forward to that. But the Chiefs are trying to do something that's never been done in the NFL, do a three-peat and beat the Eagles. And which team needs to win this game more? Is it the Eagles or is it the Chiefs? My answer to that question is I think the Eagles need to win this game more, and I'm going to tell you why, because they were just here 2 years ago. Jalen Hurts had a phenomenal game. He had one huge critical turnover, but I still believe if they would have won that game, he would have been the MVP in Super Bowl 57. But the Eagles fans are very passionate. They're diehard. They last had a championship under the guidance of Nick Foles when he knocked off Tom Brady in Minnesota about 7-8 years ago. So it's been a little bit of a while since the Eagles hosted that Lombardi Trophy. And Philly is not content with just getting to the Super Bowl. This is a random thing where Kansas City is going to be back again. Even if they don't get the dub this time, Patrick Mahomes has led the Chiefs to 7 consecutive AFC Championship games, and he is a generational talent. If the Chiefs win this game, we got to start talking about Mahomes being in the GOAT status, being up there with the greatest of all times, because there's never been a quarterback, including Tom Brady, who's won 3 consecutive Super Bowls. So I still believe, I won't let the cat out of the bag just yet in terms of who's going to win the game, but I still believe that the Eagles need to win this game more than the Chiefs. That doesn't mean I'm picking the Eagles to do it, but in terms of who I think will benefit more and has more expectations, I think it's the Eagles than it is the Chiefs. What are your thoughts on that? Who deserves, or who has the most pressure to win this game more? Is it Kansas City or is it the Eagles?
I don't know. I look at it a little bit differently. First of all, you heard that the Chiefs went to Pat Riley. They got permission to use the term three-peat because I guess that was,
really?
Yeah, that was either trademarked by him or owned by him or something like that. So we got that. So they're fully expecting to win. But the way I look at it, look at how history is going to look back at this game, right? I think history wants the three-peat, right?
Never been done.
Yeah, it's never been done. It's almost like anticlimactic if the Eagles were to pull this off and win. But again, I think it'd be great for the city. I think it'd be great for the emergence of all this new quarterback class coming up. That it's not just one guy. It'd be great to see the Eagles win that game, and it would be a perfect ending to a story. Not even the ending, maybe just the beginning to a story of Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
How he went from the Giants. Everybody thought he was done. Running backs have such a short lifespan in the NFL. And not only has he, come back, but he's just dominated. So it'd be a great story for the Eagles to win and to have him rush for 200 yards. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. And we're going to dive into the tail of the tape, right? So we're going to dive in and talk about the quarterbacks matchup, right? We got Patrick Mahomes, one of the greatest to ever do it in Kansas City in the entire National Football League. And we got Jalen Hurts, a rising star. I love both quarterbacks. They're both athletic. They both can make plays on the fly with their arm and their legs. Patrick Mahomes, when it comes to the playoffs and the postseason, he's 17-3 all time as a starter. He is a winner, and you just don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. I don't care who you are. When the game's on the line, I trust Patrick Mahomes over any other quarterback in the league. I don't care how many touchdowns the other side has thrown, who's got the MVP, what's going on. Playoff experience, being able to maneuver the team down the field late in the game, make improvisational plays on the fly. Patrick Mahomes is the man. Taking nothing away from Jalen Hurts because he is a phenomenal player. I think he's going to have another great game on Sunday in Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. So I think both quarterbacks are going to be ready. I think they're both going to make good reads at the line of scrimmage. But I think Mahomes can not only beat you with his arm, he can beat you with his mind too. Because the plays that he makes and the improvisational ability for him to do what he does, he just plays the game at a different level. And I've never seen a quarterback do some of the things that he's able to do. So you give Patrick Mahomes 2 weeks to prepare for an opponent. Kansas City's well rested. They're healthy. They've been here before. They just played the Eagles 2 years ago, which was a great game. That was a classic in Arizona. But I give the edge at quarterback to Patrick Mahomes. I trust him more, especially in-game adjustments and situationally. I think he is definitely my top quarterback. I'd take him over anybody right now in the NFL. But I do believe this game will be tight. I think it will be close. What are your thoughts on the quarterback matchups, Solomon, in terms of Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes? Who do you trust more? Because I think Mahomes has earned the right to trust more.
Yeah, and winning in the Super Bowl speaks for itself. So there's no getting around that. But the other thing that I'm impressed with Patrick Mahomes about is, he's seeing an aging Kelsey, right? not as productive as he was last year, but he's found ways to get other receivers involved and continue production and continue winning with those receivers. And that's something that Tom Brady was very good at, taking just guys. Now, granted, he's got some pretty big names with the Chiefs and Hopkins and Juju Smith-Schuster and some few other guys, but just being able to bring the next guy up and make those guys superstars and just continue your winning ways. I think that's the one thing that's going to put him above in this game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, right? And speaking of playing out, we're going to pivot to the running backs. You got Saquon Barkley, who is definitely getting some MVP votes this year. He had a phenomenal season. Only came like 100 yards away from breaking Eric Dickerson's all-time rushing record. I still think they should have let him play in that last game.
I do too. Yeah.
But that's another story for another day, right? But you got Saquon Barkley on the side of the Eagles in Philly. Great generational player. He actually has revitalized the running back position because everybody was ready to put the nail in the coffin years ago and say running backs aren't important. Like, it's a dying position. And Saquon Barkley's like, hold up, pump the brakes, breathe easy for a minute, because I'm about to show you that we still hold some value here. So Saquon Barkley is definitely a major threat. He can change the game. He's the one running back that I think can change the outcome of a game single-handedly. And he's proven that over the course of this season. On the other side, you got Isaiah Pacheco, who's coming back from injury. He's still relatively healthy. They also got Kareem Hunt, who can get you some good critical yards by the goal line. So despite the fact that, Hunt and Pacheco can step up their game, obviously the advantage goes to the Eagles when it comes to the backfield and the running back position because, I'm sorry, Saquon Barkley is just a beast. I still don't know what the hell the Giants were thinking to let him walk. I mean, y'all just let him walk out the door. It doesn't make any sense. But the Eagles are now blessed with greatness with Saquon Barkley. They didn't have him 2 years ago in Arizona. So there is a major component, particularly in the backfield and offensively, where they can actually control the ground game. If they can control the ground game and Barkley can chew up yards and run the clock, the only way you really beat Kansas City is if they beat themselves or you keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. And the one way you keep Mahomes off the field is by controlling the clock and running the football. Yeah. So I think the Eagles will have a primary focus on running the ball. The Chiefs know that, and I think they're going to load the box and stack the defensive line of scrimmage and try to make Hurts beat them stretching the field on the outside. So we'll see what the passing lanes look like. We'll see if Chris Jones and those boys can get some pressure on Jalen Hurts. He definitely is not an easy quarterback to bring down because he has a lot of mobility as well. But running backs advantage goes to Philly. We're going to now move on to receivers and talk about the matchups on the outside. For Kansas City, we got Isaiah Worthy. We've got DeAndre Hopkins. We got Juju Smith-Schuster. And on the side of Philly with the Eagles, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, you've got Dotson. So I really like this matchup on the outside because Kansas City doesn't have the big name players like they once did with Tyreek Hill and things of that nature. But Isaiah Worthy is a rookie to watch. He's got a lot of speed. I believe he's the fastest player in the league. So this is only his first year. So I think he's going to be a great player in the future, provided he stays healthy. But he's already proven he can beat you on the outside. And watch for the Chiefs using him in some special plays as a runner. Because once he hits the edge, if he gets that angle, he can take it all the way, for a touchdown. So I really like the speed of Worthy. DeAndre Hopkins, the veteran, gets in his first Super Bowl. I love that story. I hope they utilize him a lot on Sunday. And you got Juju Smith-Schuster, who can make plays as well down the field. But I do believe on the side of the Eagles with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, I think they have the advantage when it comes to the receiver position because they've got the speed and they've got the ability to not only catch the football, but yards after the catch. They are always a threat down the field. It's just a matter of, can Jalen Hurts have time and throw an accurate deep ball and get them involved. We shall see how it plays out, but I think it will be interesting on Sunday in terms of what's going to happen down the field. So advantage goes to the Eagles when it comes to the wide receiver position. Let's go ahead and hop to defensive line, where you've got Jalen Carter, a beast, coming out of Alabama. Jalen Carter is a beast. He is definitely a great player. Him and Brandon Graham, they've been playing well all year, dominating the line of scrimmage, getting to the quarterback, closing the running lanes up, and just swallowing these running backs, right? So on the defensive line for Kansas City, you got Chris Jones. You've got some other good players, but I do believe that the Eagles hold the advantage defensively at the line of scrimmage when it comes to applying pressure on the quarterback and filling the running lane. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if they can get to Mahomes, because he can definitely scramble and make plays on the fly as well. What are your thoughts, Solomon, on Jalen Carter and the Eagles defense? Because I think they're underrated. I think they've got a pretty solid defensive unit. They do give up some yards through the air, but defensively at the line of scrimmage, I think they can suffocate the run.
Yeah, and of course the defensive line is that first line, but really, if you look at the NFL the way it's progressed this year, it's about the defensive line being strategic enough to create the holes where they want to create, so their linebackers can then come in and make the tackle. And I think that's where the Eagles play together well as a unit. I think they're very good at that. So it may not be so much about the interior linemen making sacks and everything. They can definitely push the ball and push him out of the pocket, which is what I think they're going to do. But I'm eager to see those linebackers flying around, and I think that's ultimately going to decide who's moving the ball and who's not.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be, everyone's on that over, right? That total of 49.5. I think personally this is going to be a defensive game, and I think it's going to be not as high scoring as people might think. But we'll see how that plays out. Coaching, you got Andy Reid versus Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni's a much younger coach, but he definitely has made strides in Philadelphia, bringing the Eagles. He's the first coach in Philadelphia Eagles history to bring the team to 2 Super Bowls within a 3-year span. So he is leading the Eagles back to the Super Bowl for the second time under his tenure in the last 3 years. So shout out to Nick Sirianni in Philly. And then you got the veteran, the OG, Mr. Bubbalarooski-Doo, Andy Reid, who has won 27 postseason games, one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. You give Andy Reid 2 weeks to prepare for a football game, he's got a phenomenal record, and his ability to make in-game adjustments. I think on the offensive side of the ball, he's very creative when it comes to play calling and strategizing, and then making adjustments not only during the game but at halftime. So I think coaching, Andy Reid clearly has the advantage, but I do want to give a shout out to Nick Sirianni for definitely leading the Eagles this year in a very great season and a deep postseason run. They're in the Super Bowl again, the second time in 3 years. So definitely happy for him. But I think the advantage clearly goes to Andy Reid. He's just an OG. He knows what the hell he's doing. And he's trying to be the first coach in NFL history to not only beat his former team once, but to beat his former team twice. Because Andy Reid used to coach the Eagles many years ago, and he did a hell of a job then, but they couldn't get to the promised land with him. But now in Kansas City, he's 3-2 all time in the Super Bowl, looking to capture his 4th Super Bowl title. So we shall see how it plays out. But late in the game, when the Chiefs need a score, or they need a key drive, or they need to make an adjustment, Andy Reid is never disappointed, particularly in big game situations where the lights are the brightest. Again, the man's won 27 playoff games, so he definitely knows what the hell he's doing. Any thoughts on the coaching matchups? What are your thoughts on Nick Sirianni, a younger coach who's brought the Eagles back again for the second time to the Super Bowl, And also, what do you think about Andy Reid and his status as a legendary coach?
Well, there's nothing you could say about Andy Reid. I mean, it's his proof is there. He is old hat. I think going to the Super Bowl for him is sort of like, another game. I mean, obviously it's a lot more special, but I think he's going to be a lot more comfortable. And we've seen in the past, now that we've had this trend toward younger coaching, that when they get to these big games, sometimes they get out coached, or the lights are too bright for them, And so with Nick Sirianni coming in, having had that one Super Bowl appearance, I feel like maybe now he understands what it takes, the level of intensity that has to go up in order for your team to not only compete but to win in the Super Bowl. But you're right, I still give the advantage to the Chiefs. I mean, Andy Reid has said that he will be back next year, so I think that's a load off of everybody's mind, so people can sort of play with joy and intensity, knowing their coach is going to be there for another year.
Yeah. We're going to talk about special teams, which is something that people rarely focus on, but it's such a key component of a football game, particularly a playoff game, a Super Bowl, right? You've got Harrison Butker, who's a phenomenal field goal kicker for Kansas City. And on the other side, you got Jake Elliott, who actually is a good kicker as well. But lately, Elliott has struggled, particularly when he's kicking extra points in the postseason. So he's missed a couple extra points in key situations the last few playoff games that the Eagles have been in. So I'm going to pay attention to this closely to see how vital of a role it will play on Sunday. Not just in the kicking game, but the punting game as well. You definitely have to consider field position. But when the game's on the line and you need an extra point or you need a field goal, both of these kickers can step up and make it happen. But who do I trust more? And who do I have more confidence in? Well, I'm going to have to go ahead and tell you it's Harrison Butker, because he's done it before. I mean, 2 years ago, when the game was on the line, I know it was just a short field goal. I think it was like 25, 30 yards, but he still got it done. So he doesn't crack under pressure. He makes a majority of all of his extra points. I think Jake Elliott does have a little bit of pressure on his shoulders, particularly how he's been kicking lately in the postseason. So pay close attention to special teams and field position. I give the advantage to Kansas City. I think Harrison Butker is the man, particularly when the game is on the line. I put my faith more in him than I would Jake Elliott. Taking nothing away from you, Jake, and not Jake from State Farm either. Jake Elliott, taking nothing away from you, man. But lately, the proof is in the pudding. I think Harrison Butker is the guy. Any thoughts on special teams? Because it's something that's slept on. A lot of people don't really look at that when they're looking at these big games.
Well, I'm with you. With kickers, it tends to be, sort of like gravity, right? If you throw something, there's no gravity, it's going to keep going. If you're a good kicker, you're going to continue to be good. So I look at it like that. Yeah. If you are good in crunch situations, you're going to continue to be that. So I'm putting my money on Harrison Butker as well. And on the other side, when kicking isn't going so well, you just can't say, okay, I'm just going to turn it around. It just doesn't work like that. So I'm with the Chiefs on this one as well.
Well, it's about that time. It's time to make a prediction, and I am so excited. I've been telling everybody since late August, early September, that I thought Kansas City had a great chance to three-peat. I know it's never been done, but when you factor in Andy Reid, 27 postseason wins in his coaching career, 3-2 all-time in Super Bowls, Patrick Mahomes has not only led the Chiefs to 7 consecutive AFC Championship games, Patrick Mahomes is 17-3 all-time as a starter in the postseason. And there's just something about that Kansas City team. They've won 9 consecutive postseason games, 9 consecutive playoff wins. When the game has been on the line, they know how to close, particularly one-score games. They just have the experience, the poise, the playoff pedigree to get it done. They never dominate a team, but they just always make it happen when it counts the most. When the game's on the line, who do you trust more? Is it going to be Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, or is it going to be Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes? The proof is in the pudding. I got to roll with Kansas City. I think that this is going to be a close game. I think defenses are going to play a huge role in this matchup. And I think it's going to be tight. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter. And of course, when you give Patrick Mahomes the ability to go down the field and close, he never lets you down. So why would anything change now? So I believe that Kansas City is going to be the first team in NFL history to three-peat. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm saying it's going to be somewhat on the low end in terms of scoring. I'm going to say Kansas City pulls this out 27-23. Kansas City wins this game late, like they do and fashionably late all the time, right? But they make it happen. So roll with the Chiefs. Extra lettuce on the sandwich. This is the final game of the year. It's time to get that guap, that cheddar, that queso. You know what time it is. With that being said, it's time to bring the pain. So Solomon, let it rain. Woo! Episode 52 is in the books. You're watching Sports Hop. Hey, you see where this landed, right? That's a good sign. It's your boy Mack B. Keep it locked. Kansas City gets it done. This is how we rocking and rolling, man. Go Chiefs. Thanks for watching Sports Hop. For all the latest news on hip hop and sports, subscribe here and keep it locked. It's your boy Mack B.